This video will help you through the limiting reactant lab. So step one for the lab would be to go through and do the pre-lab questions. The pre-lab questions are writing the complete and balanced chemical equation, given the fact that magnesium is going to be solids, so they're little like pieces of magnesium solid, and then the HCl will be dissolved in an aqueous solution. So what's going to happen includes states of matter. Then you're going to calculate how many moles are in this 2 molar HCl when I use 10 mils of it, and when I use the 10 mils, how much magnesium I need to make that reaction happen. Okay. Then the setup is essentially we're going to do 2 mini reactions. In one test tube, I have the 10 mils of HCl, and in it I'm going to put 0.12 grams of Mg. And then in the other one, I have the 10 mils, and in this one I'm going to put 0.41 Mg. So varying amounts of Mg in order to see the limiting reactant situation. The other thing I'm going to put in each test tube is something called Bromethyl Blue. So in each test tube, I'm going to put a couple of drops of Bromethyl Blue, and the background tells you that in the presence of hydrochloric acid, the Bromethyl Blue will turn yellow. Okay? And if there is no HCl, it'll turn blue. So that's just to help us because we can't see the HCl. So now in each test tube, I'm going to put the magnesium in and allow it to start reacting. This is what the reaction looks like when it's reacting. Lots of gas, lots of bubbles being created. It is warm to the touch as well, so you get a sense of what to write down. Okay, so this is test tube number 1. You can make observations on what it looks like during. So now test tube number 2 is on this side, very similar to test tube number 1 in terms of the reaction we're seeing. So you can record observations. It's really hot, by the way. So reaction's almost over. Reaction to test tube number 1 on this side, number 2 on this side, just so you get a sense of what it's looking like when it's almost finished. Here's test tube number 1 after the reaction's been complete. Put a couple drops of bromethyl blue in it again so we can test for the presence of hydrochloric acid. So what you want to write down in the observation section is obviously what happened during it, but also once it's done right now. What are you observing in order to help you understand what the limiting reactant was and what the excess reactant was once the reaction stopped? Okay, because that's the first question in the lab. How do we know what the limiting and the excess reactant is? Just by observation. Okay, so make sure you're writing down observations of this test tube that will help you justify your claim of whether you think magnesium or hydrochloric acid is the limiting and what the excess is. Here's test tube number 2, and if we put our couple of drops of bromethyl blue in and mix it, you can make observations about it once the reaction has stopped. So again, you want to be able to determine what is the limiting reactant and what is the excess reactant based on your observations. So what are you seeing here that can tell you what reactant is gone and what reactant is left over? Go ahead and do the rest of the questions.